What's up, everybody? This is Danny Mathematics again. Today, we're going to go over how to utilize the formula of an arithmetic sequence to find out the nth term, okay? To find out the nth term. The nth term could be any term that we're trying to find out when it comes to these particular patterns of numbers, okay? So it could be the 10th term, it could be the 20th term, it could be the 100th term. Any term could be the nth term, and that's the term that we're trying to figure out, okay? So right here, guys, this is the formula to an arithmetic sequence. It's AN equals A1 plus parentheses N minus 1 parentheses close times D, okay? Now, let's just go through each part and I'm going to explain it. AN, right, is the nth term. This is the term that we're trying to figure out in these type of problems, okay? You're always trying to find out the nth term, okay? That's the term that we're trying to find out within the pattern that is given, okay? A1 is the first term within the pattern that is given, okay? A1 is the first term. N represents the number of terms, okay? N represents the number of terms. And D represents the difference between each term. So for example, if we had a pattern of 2, 4, 6, 8, right? The difference will be plus 2 because you're adding 2 each time, right? So the difference will be the difference between, the consistent difference between each pattern, okay? Because they'll have the same difference, all right? So in this particular case, guys, we have an example 1. We have this pattern that starts off with 20, -2, -24, and so on, right? And they want us to find the 11th term within this pattern, okay? So once again, they want us to find out the 11th term within this particular pattern, okay? So what we're going to do is, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to identify the different parts that we can showcase, okay? We're going to identify the different parts that we can showcase, and then we're going to put those parts within the formula to actually solve for the nth term or the 11th term in this particular case, okay? So let's go ahead and start off, okay? 20 is the first term, right? And remember, guys, the first term is A1. So in this case, A1 equals 20, okay? A1 equals 20, okay? Now, the next thing is, let's try to figure out the difference between each particular value that's within the pattern, okay? If I go from 20 to -2, I have to subtract 22, okay? If I go from -2 to -24, I had to subtract, again, 22. So the common difference is a -22. I'm subtracting 22 each time. That is my common difference within this pattern, okay? As I go to each value, right, within the pattern, I'm subtracting 22, subtracting 22, subtracting 22. So that is the difference, okay? All right, N is, remember, it's the number of terms. They want to find out the nth term. So the number of terms will have to be 11, right? That's the 11th term. So it's 11 terms in total, okay? And then, of course, guys, AN, which is the 11th term, is what we're trying to solve for. All right, once again, AN, which is the 11th term, is what we're trying to solve for, okay? We're trying to find out what is actually the 11th term. So now all we're gonna do is, guys, we're just gonna plug in these values that we came up with, and we're just gonna plug inside the arithmetic sequence formula, okay? So I'm gonna rewrite the formula. I have AN equals A1 plus a parentheses N minus 1 parentheses closed times the difference between each term. Okay, this is what you should have. So it's simple, guys. All we're gonna do is we're just gonna plug in these values where they go. That's it. So for A1, once again, we figured out that the first term was 20, right? So A1 is 20. Okay, 20 plus inside the parentheses, n is 11 because we are working with 11 terms, right? 11 total terms. So it's going to be 11 minus 1. Remember that is n. All right, parentheses closed, times the difference between each term, which is a negative 22. So times, I'm just going to put it in parentheses, times 22. Okay? So all we're going to do is, guys, we're just going to solve that equation, and then we're going to figure out what is the 11th term, which is an. Okay? So what I would, if I was you guys, I would work out everything within the parentheses first. You can go ahead and plug it into your calculator. I would do 11 minus 1 is actually 10. So it's going to be 10 times a negative 22. Okay, 10 times a negative 22 is actually a negative 220. So that's a negative 220. Okay, so it's going to be 20 plus a negative 220. Let's see what we get. Which our answer would be AN equals a negative 200, because 20 plus a negative 220 is a negative 200. Okay, so the nth term, or the 11th term, would be 200. Okay, the 11th term in this particular case would be a negative 200, a negative 200. Okay, so if we were still subtracting negative 22, negative 22, negative 22, by the time we got to the 11th term, it would be a negative 200. So this is how we solve arithmetic sequences. I will come out with 4 more examples within a week, and I will talk to you soon.